We've got some breaking news here on the Cowboys Report, and not exactly good news either. Zack Martin's season is over. Mike McCarthy revealing at his press conference today that Martin is going to undergo ankle surgery. That will end his 2024 season and potentially his career as well. Martin had publicly, debated, and maybe it's getting close to retirement. He'd mentioned that it had been considered. He did not play very well this year, in part because of all the injuries he suffered. The shoulder was also banged up for him. He's not under contract next year. It's set to void. It's set up to void in a way that would allow an easy retirement for Martin and the Cowboys. This might be it for Martin. And that sucks because this is not how it was supposed to end. And it did not end, if it is ending, the way Martin or anyone involved wanted it to. Either way, let's show some love to the future Hall of Fame offensive guard. Everyone flood the comment section. Spam your 70s for Zack Martin right now. The play this year from Martin was just not up to the level it normally is. And it wasn't even like, he went from the best guard in the NFL to like a top 10 guard. He was like a low-end starter. The injuries had really mounted. The last couple reps he had with the ankles were just, they were not very good reps. Not 5 sacks this year. Only played in 630 attempts. Part of what made Zack Martin, all the stuff that he's had was there were never any penalties. He had a holding call this year, which we know just doesn't ever really happen to him. I still think he's going to go down with it's more Pro Bowls than holding penalties in his NFL career, which is kind of crazy. The 1 year he missed the Pro Bowl, he played 10 games in 2020. It's probably going to be the same thing this year. Martin's career is up there with any offensive lineman, let alone a guard, in the history of the National Football League. 11 years. He missed 2 games in 2018. Missed, I think, 2 games last year. 6 games in 2020. Going to miss 7 games this year. That's it. He's basically an Iron Man. He had 9 Pro Bowls in his career. The only 2 years he's not going to make the Pro Bowl are the years he missed at least 6 games. That's it. When he was healthy, he was a lock Pro Bowler. He was oftentimes a lock All-Pro. Again, it was in 2020. He wasn't a first-team All-Pro. He also had 2 second-team All-Pro years. Not included on this. He was second in Rookie of the Year voting as a guard. How impossible that is. He showed up on an NFL football field and was, this is one of the best players in the NFL. It was just instantaneous. He was a member of the 2010s Hall of Fame team. I don't know if he'll get to be a member of the 2020 Hall of Fame team because he only played about half of it. But in general, when you're a member of the Hall of Fame team, for like the decades, you get to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. He's a no-doubt Hall of Famer. What is in doubt is if this is truly the end for Zack Martin. Is this the end of his career? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote at the pinned comment with the ad comes here on YouTube. It's Y for yes, N for no. Now, if there is silver linings involved here, it's that it does allow you an opportunity down the stretch here, the final 5 games of the season, to look at the other guard options. Now, I would assume that would be Brock Hoffman over TJ Bass. Both of them are potential options here, given the way things have played out. Hoffman has been the one starting at right guard the last 2 weeks with Martin banged up. I actually like the way he's played. We'll talk about this more in depth, but I am impressed. Terrence Steele has played better the past few weeks, probably just in general. More chemistry along the offensive line, getting playing time together, level of competition, commitment to the ground game where Steele is better anyway. We'll talk about both Hoffman and Bass in a little bit. But the bright side is, long-term, and you can even argue short-term to an extent, there are benefits to not playing Zack Martin. It just sucks that it's injury-related and he didn't get to go out the way you wanted him to. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Speaking of injuries, they have injury insurance. The only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. Player goes down the first half, doesn't return. PrizePicks keeps your lineup in play. I'm a big fan of their flex play, which means I only got to get 2 out of these 3 right. My boy Jack Lotter ran a bit of a heater right now. More than CeeDee Lamb receiving yards, more than Chase Brown yards on the ground. I wonder if the Bengals are going to commit to that more than they have in recent weeks. We'll see. Rico Dowdle, which I love that number, 68.5, more than rushing yards on that front. Download the PrizePicks app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. Against the comments in the description of today's show. Spend some more time here on Brock Hoffman, who I think I'm going to go with the nickname Captain Insano for him moving forward. The dude is, you, to a certain extent, and I mean this in a very positive sense, so don't get mad at me when I say it, you kind of have to be like a little bit mentally unhinged to play offensive line. Like, you are just constantly throwing your body around, taking hits, laying punishment. Anytime there is something involving a little pushing and shoving going on, Captain Insano's right there in the middle of it. He is always there, and he's played very well at right guard the last 2 games. Gets a potential chance to really impress against the not very good Bengals interior offensive line this week. Has a lot of sack so far this year. I like what I've seen a lot out of Brock Hoffman, and this is a player the coaching staff loves. He is a high effort, high energy, good worker type of player. He's a good worker bee. He's cheap. He's played center. He can play right guard for you. I think he's going to continue to get first crack on the offensive line. Now, there is another option in TJ Bass, who I was slightly surprised by didn't get the nod at right guard last week. With left tackle issues with Shuma Doga, there's a scenario in which they put Tyler Smith back out there at left tackle, but we'll have to monitor that one. If you can only pick one of these guys to start at right guard, let's say there's only one guard spot available. Who is it? B for Bass, H for Hoffman. I do think Bass played very well at left guard the last start he got, or last real playing time he got at left guard, I should say. If you had asked me this 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I would have said Bass. What I've seen from a Hoffman the last 2 weeks makes me more inclined to let him keep going. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Bass, especially if Hoffman has a bad game, because I kind of want to set up, if these guys impress, the silver lining here is that these guys can showcase what they're able to do, and then you can go into next year knowing this is our starter, or we have a real viable competition at right guard coming up. And you don't have to spend a premium asset on that spot. That could be a good idea, from the Cowboys' long-term perspective. Now, when there's Cowboys news, we have you covered. We'll be back live in a couple hours here on the Cowboys Report to do our regular Thursday live show. Going to be injury-focused. We'll adjust and tweak the schedule a little bit there with the cuts because we're doing this one instead. But we got Cowboys coverage for you every single day. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. One final thought I want to have here on Zack Martin. Whether he comes back, he plays for a different team and goes the Emmitt Smith route or whatever, Zack Martin is a Hall of Famer. I am heartbroken that this organization has another long and growing list of players who were so damn good, whether it was Hall of Fame or just Ring of Honor-esque careers, that don't get to have the playoff success that they deserve. But I will remember Zack Martin, not for the sack he allowed down the stretch or the injuries or the decline in play. I am going to remember the most dominant guard in NFL history, maybe alongside Larry Allen. That's how I will remember him. And it was good to have him. Thing isn't beautiful because it lasts, it's that it happened in the first place.